Coming up, an interview with two of the principals from a hard rock arena band from the 1980s, very iconic. They tell the story behind one of the catchiest, raise your fist in the air, sing to the top of your lungs, rockers of 1984. I mean, I don't know if it's illegal to turn the station when the song comes on the radio, but it should be. The backstory of what brought this song to life, the character, it's based on a real person. The story's next on Professor of Rock. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you ever spent hundreds of quarters on Space Invaders, Pac-Man, Burger Time, Dragon's Lair, or Donkey Kong at the arcade, those are just the ones I love, you're going to dig this channel. Make sure to subscribe below right now to be a part of our daily dollop of nostalgia, straight from the artists who created the iconic music of our time. Click the bell so you never miss out. Make sure to check out our Patreon as well. We have a lot of content over there that you can watch. That helps us keep this a daily channel. And also, our new Vintage Years collection is out right now. We got all 6 years up there. Click up here, go to ProfessorRock.com for that. For any true blue child of the 80s, if I happen to say the word motorin', you're going to say, what's your price for flight? I'm, of course, talking about the chorus of the all-time classic rock song, Sister Christian, from the one and only Night Ranger. What's your price for flight? I mean, this song was my go-to as a kid. Whenever it came on the radio, it just put a quarter in me, and I was banging my head, raising my fist, singing, yelling the words, just full throttle. I'm not a violent person. I don't ever start fights. I haven't ever. The only time I ever instigated a fight with my little brother was over this song. We were riding in the cab of my dad's pickup, and this song came blasting on the radio, and my brother punched that little metal button, to change the station. I berated him. I was just screaming at him. It's against the law to change the station when Sister Christian is on the radio. I was completely serious. I still am. If you don't like this song, you hate babies, you hate kittens, you hate happiness and joy, because that's what this song is. It's pure and unadulterated joy. It will lift the saddest sack from their slumber. It's the musical equivalent of Jolt Cola for 80s kids.
Great stuff, Harv.
It's the caffeine. This is wonderful.
Night Ranger formed in San Francisco. Their origin can actually be traced to Rubicon, a pop-funk group led by Jerry Martini, who was once a part of Sly and the Family Stone. After Rubicon's demise in 1979, bassist Jack Blades put together a trio with two other Rubicon members, drummer Kelly Keagy and guitarist Brad Gillis, one of the great guitarists out there, very underappreciated. They were under the name Stereo, and they brought in keyboardist Alan Fitzgerald. He once played with the hard rock outfit Montrose in 1980. From there, Fitzgerald brought in another ferocious guitarist, and Jeff Watson, who at the time had his own band. As Stereo, the band played some smaller clubs in San Francisco. In 1980, they changed their name just to Ranger, and then was finally Night Ranger because a country band claimed trademark infringements. So they had to change it. They dropped their first album, Dawn Patrol, on Boardwalk Records. They started opening for major artists like Ozzy and ZZ Top, Sammy Hagar. Actually, most people don't realize that Brad Gillis played guitar for Ozzy after Randy Rhoads tragically passed away. Now, the record company Boardwalk shut down in mid-82, and Night Ranger signed with a subsidiary of MCA. Now, Dawn Patrol's first single, Don't Tell Me You Love Me, that charted right at number 40 on the Billboard Hot 100. And due to its music video, the band got some great exposure. Night Ranger's popularity continued to rocket with their sophomore album, Midnight Madness, which pushed the band to headliner status by the summer of '84. The three singles from Midnight Madness solidified the band with Rockin' America, When You Close Your Eyes, and of course, the top 5 smash Sister Christian, which was sung not by lead singer Jack Blades, but by drummer Kelly Keagy. Up next, lead singer Jack Blades and drummer singer Kelly Keagy tell us the story, the grand story of Sister Christian, the real Sister Christian, and how the song was actually not originally called Sister Christian. It was I'll let him tell you. They also share what inspired them on the path to rock and roll. Now, as we go into this interview, I want to recognize our amazing sponsor, Zenni Eyewear. I got to tell you won't find an eyewear company out there like Zenni. They are... They're one of a kind. I mean, their glasses start at $7 for quality frames. You can choose the color, the shape, the size. You put in your prescription, your address, and they send them right to your door. You can even see how you look before you buy. Go to Zenni.com today to check it out. Here's a story of Sister Christian. Do you remember the first time that you heard your song on the radio? Tell me about that moment.
Yeah, I think I'll tell you the moment that really hit us was the second time, our second album. Yeah. We were in the Bay Area, and the first album, Dawn Patrol, had become a pretty big hit. And then we released Midnight Madness, and it was instantly like, I remember being in San Francisco. Brad and I talk about this all the time. I was in San Francisco. There were like 3 rock stations, and then there was one in San Jose. So there was like four rock stations. Mm-hmm. And I hit the thing, and one of our songs, Touch of Madness, was playing on one. I hit another one, and You Can Still Rock in America was playing on one. I hit another one, and it was like When You Close Your Eyes, and I hit another one, it was another. Like at that moment, at the very moment, every radio station in the Bay Area was playing a Night Ranger song. It was like, what? This is crazy. Yeah. I'm like, oh man, it just blew my mind.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that was like, yeah, okay, this thing's blowing up.
Sister Christian, oh, the time has come.
So Sister Christian, that song, of course, written by Kelly, but he was singing Sister Christian. Wasn't you that tapped him and said, wait a second?
Yeah, I thought he was saying.
Tell us that story.
Well, his sister's name is Christy, and he was singing it like Sister Christy all the time. I always thought he was saying Sister Christian. I'm like, that's freaking brilliant, Sister Christian. You know, I love the look of that. You know, the thought of that. Yeah, how lyrical and how poetic and how you could just see a painting immediately, Sister Christian. You know, and then one day he wrote it down, Christy. I'm like, that's not, dude. What are you, Christy? And he goes, well, that's my sister. I said, I thought you were singing Sister Christian. He goes, no, it's Christy. And I'm like, dude, poetic license. Kelly, we got to change it.
Every day, I was living with a friend of mine in San Francisco, and every day we would play Bruce Springsteen's album. Anyway, it had Racing in the Streets on it.
Darkness on the Edge of Town.
That's right, Darkness. Yeah. Every day we'd go right to that song because we were kind of doing a version of Sister Christian back then, but it wasn't what we ended up with. But it was that beautiful intro and the song is about being in the street. So that whole thing came about cruising with my sister. Wow. Cruising the main street. It was like a Van Nuys Boulevard, but it was in Oregon. And so it was about that. And so I tapped into that whole thing. I got a 59 Chevy, and the whole thing. And I was like, I want to write a song like this.
His sister, poor Christy, she was like, should she change her name to Christian now? I mean, it was like, tail wagging the dog or whatever it is, that saying is.
It's kind of a Big Brother song because
it was totally about me, to my sister saying, watch out, because I've been there and we're after one thing and it might be okay, but I'm just telling you,
Yeah.
Where you going, what you looking for? You know those boys don't wanna play no more with you. It's true. Here we go. All right, we're gonna sing it all together with the band. Yeah. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, go. What's your price for time?
It's cornered every market of entertainment. Video games, movies, and TV with Glee. I mean, even Glee covered it.
What's your price for
American Dad did a couple different episodes with that on there.
Yeah, it was always fun.
What's your price for flight?
Yeah, and it just kind of took off. Song kind of ended up in a collective consciousness of the.
The musical, Rock of Ages. In fact, you
Yeah.
were in that musical yourself.
Well, yeah. I actually starred in the Vegas portion of that.
Yeah.
As the club owner. It was pretty wild.
Want to say, okay.
Boogie Nights kind of put it back on the map, kind of like what Sopranos did for Don't Stop Believing.
Boy, I'll tell you, man, Boogie Nights, that was crazy. Kelly and I went to see Boogie Night. We went to see the scene, and when we saw that scene, sweat just started pouring out of our foreheads. We looked at each other and we go, we've been to that guy's house in Hollywood.
Really?
We've lived that. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
oh my
yeah.
God, this
Oh,
is
yeah.
way too close to reality. I mean,
Yeah.
we were like, yeah, you know.
Love that song.
Tell me about the drum fills, because that is one of the greatest moments in a pop song ever, when you're leading up to the chorus, the bum, bum, bum,
Right,
bum, bum.
right.
Where did you kind of...
I mean, we wanted it to be as big and as bombastic and to build into this gigantic thing. And so that's where that kind of feel came. But it was the ending that happened totally spontaneous and only did it one time. And it was it must have been 3 o'clock in the morning, and we had to only record after 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So there was businesses, the studio, it couldn't be used until later. And it was late, and I was like bushed, and I was like done, and we'd been 10 tracks of this song. And after every track, the producer would go, let's do it again. And I'm like, it's like my temper's building, and I'm like, how can I do this over and over again?
Yeah.
I mean, I just wasn't that school of a player to, like a session musician could do it as many times as you want. So when I got to like the 10th take and I got to that ending, I threw down and I just said, this is just too much for me. So
Yeah.
I did that whole ending, and the ending ended up being a magical moment. There's this long pause, and I just like, do it. I just hit it. I just hit it as hard as I could. And I threw my drumsticks across the room. And they went flying. And there was this long pause, and the producer goes, come on in. And I went, okay. And then we went in there, and he goes, come here, because I want you to hear this. And we listened to the whole song, and when it got to the ending, and it did that ending, I'm like, I don't think I could ever recreate that ever again. And he goes, we don't need you to. That's the one we're taking. And I was like, oh, thank God.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Make sure to leave us a comment about this fist-pumping, sing-along classic of the 80s. Share your memories of that time in the 80s. What did this song mean to you? What other rock classics should we cover on here? If you dig our videos, we invite you to subscribe right now, right below, to be a part of our community. Check us out on Patreon. Check out our new merch. All of this helps us to keep the music alive. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.